Welcome into Noise Complaint. That's Ben. I'm Lou. We're in Ben's basement, and this time we are in Ben's basement with White Rabbit Object. River from White Rabbit Object with us.
Hi.
Thank you for coming out here, coming down to Ben's basement, hanging out, and absolutely crushing it tonight. The songs you guys did were fantastic.
Thank you so much, and thank you guys both for having me out tonight and having the whole band. It was an absolute pleasure, and we sounded good in our headphones, so thanks for making us sound great.
You know, White Rabbit Object was kind of one of the, you guys were almost how we got this whole idea going. Ben wanted to do something like this where we're just kind of promoting some local Chicago bands and what can we do to talk about that kind of scene. And I ended up getting one of your songs at the radio station that I worked at, and I was like, this is great. And I hit him up. I'm like, you got to check this out. We should reach out to these guys. And then all of a sudden, you guys are right down the street playing in West Dundee around Halloween.
Yep.
And blew me away. The live performance, I mean, just absolutely amazing. I know you've been compared even by Rolling Stone to Amy Winehouse, and you know, Taylor Momsen's a good comparison. But for you, the comparison for your voice, is there anyone that you hear that people throw at you and you're like, no, I don't feel that one at all, or one that people miss sometimes?
It's really interesting you bring that up. Typically, I think that anytime somebody compares me to somebody really wonderful, I'm like, that's too much. Don't compare. I don't deserve that. But it's nice that people hear something in my voice that reminds them of something else that they love, which is very nice. But the other day we played a show, and this audience member wrote us a little note afterwards, and she's like, your voice is like Amy Winehouse meets Alicia Keys meets Adele. And I had never thought about the Alicia Keys thing before, nor do I think that I deserve that, because Alicia Keys is like top tier. But yeah, I think it's really sweet how people find parts of me and like things that they enjoy. So.
And we all do that, right? Like we hear something or we see something, we want to compare it to something we know instantly. It needs to, like, it's a weird thing that we all kind of do, but like you hear it, you're like, oh, that sounds like blah. But people do that all the time.
I think that people for the most part want to feel nostalgic for things that they love, and they like to find the familiar in the new. And so if people do that by comparing me to artists that they love, I think that's really charming, and I'm not gonna fight it. Before I was like, no, don't compare me to anybody. You know, there's no point in saying that, because
well, I'm sure you pull from different influences anyways, even like unconsciously, like you would pull from things you listen to or even just heard maybe even a couple times. It's just kind of a natural instinct to, pull from stuff.
Gosh, I grew up playing jazz music. Like this, like alternative rock was not where I started my music journey. And so I think between Frank and AC, Mike and myself, we all have such vast musical tastes that it's really hard to not be influenced by,
well, you're pulling from the same influences probably that those people that you're compared to are pulling from.
Yeah.
So it's like all just kind of combining that way.
It's all a sort of creative stealing in some way, shape, or another. We're all taking little bits and pieces of one another and turning them into like cool new versions of us. So
well, I will say that your guys' music, though, you may say it could sound like this or this, but it is a fresh take, I think, on any of those styles that people would compare it to. Like it doesn't sound like dated or like you're comparing it directly to anyone that I've heard. So you kind of have a blend of modern versus this nostalgic old like sound.
Yeah, and I don't think that we write music intentionally, but I don't think that we write with the intention of being like, all right, we're going to add a little bit of this older sound and this newer sound to make it like something that people are still excited by. I think that that's just sort of naturally what ends up happening because of our influences. And I'm glad that people gravitate toward the things that we write. That feels really nice.
One of the things I took away from your live performance is like the powerful. I walked away, that word was just kind of in my head. The whole performance was powerful. Even the few covers you threw in. One of the weird things at that Halloween show, there was somebody dressed like Amy Winehouse. You pulled her up on stage and did a whole song with her, and it was just like you kept it so fun, but you never lost. You never lost it. Oh, yeah, that's right. It was Liz. That's right.
Shout out Liz. I don't know you, Liz, but I'm glad that we did that together.
Liz wanted to be here tonight, but I was like, there's a very small space in our basement, so sorry, Liz.
No,
Liz, if you ever want to have wine together and just hang out and listen to Amy Winehouse, we could do that.
It was awesome. It was absolutely awesome to see it happen. But like you didn't sacrifice what you guys are trying to get across. You know what I mean? It didn't lose anything just because you had some fun with it. You pulled the crowd in, but I feel like you still kept that level of like, here's who we are. This is what White Rabbit Object is. You didn't like, just start playing to like, whoever wanted to have fun, anything like that. It was really interesting to see you do that. How hard is it to keep that balance?
I don't know if other artists know this, but now you do. Playing music is supposed to be fun.
It is, right?
Yeah. It's supposed to be fun.
It does get lost for some artists. Yes.
It does.
No, and it breaks my heart to see, like, I mean, people get so disheartened by like, there's not these people in the room. They're not playing us on this station, and obviously, like, we want those things too.
Sure.
Like, but I try not to like lose the joy of music in all that other stuff, and so I don't find it very difficult to like mix the seriousness of loving the art of playing music with bringing joy to people. I mean, that's what makes it fun to play music, is you bring people on stage or you see people dancing, people are having a good time. I mean, a room full of people dancing and wanting to come and, banter with you. I mean, that's way more fun than an empty room.
Yeah, if that pisses you off, you're in the wrong line of business.
You're in the wrong line of
work.
business. Yeah, no, if people want to engage with you and if people want to be a part of the thing that you're giving to that, why wouldn't you? I don't know. I think that's really special.
I will say that, mentioning to people that saw you guys in the West Dundee show that you played, they really wanted to be here they knew that you guys are coming here. And I'm like, I was thinking of ways that we can make it happen, but I'm like, they'd have to have headphones. And I'm like,
do you need to give me a list of names? Do I need to read like a list of names?
This is actually turned into a cameo thing. So real quick, just say hi to everybody. Could you record my cell phone voicemail greeting? That'd be great.
For you guys, absolutely, I would do that. Not a question. But no, I think that's really cool that so many people wanted to be here and be in this space with us because they enjoyed our music. That's cool. Yeah. Shout out to all you guys. That's fabulous.
You guys did the trilogy, and I find this so interesting because back in 2023 it started with Whiskey Tango Hotel. 24 you had Romeo Bravo Bravo Tango, and 25 you have Oscar Bravo Juliet. And I mean, it's not hard to figure out wht.rbbt.obj. Did you guys expect to do a trilogy when this whole thing started, or did it just kind of come up and somehow what got you into that?
I don't think that we ever anticipated the band like being a band to begin with. I think that Frank and myself had very different musical identities. We said, okay, we're a married couple. We should absolutely not play music together. That just seems like a bad idea. Of course.
Cheers to you for making that work.
I broke the rule. Yeah. But no, I think that, Frank and I see things very, very similarly in the sense that we sort of are looking at things from an artistic director sort of point of view. And I think that, initially when we wrote Whiskey Hotel Tango, it kind of seemed like, okay, well, how do we turn this into something that's not just music, but it feels very cinematic. It feels very intentional. It feels very like people will be excited to wait for this next thing. So I don't know that when we first started the group that it was like, okay, we're going to write this trilogy of records. It just sort of like when we did sit down and start writing the sort of arc of the records made sense.
It's so interesting you said cinematic, because as I was listening to the albums, I kept in my head, I'm like, this sounds like a soundtrack to a Quentin Tarantino movie. Like it just like that's what this whole thing is.
The nicest thing anybody's ever said to me. Thank you so much.
Happy to be that person, but it really does. That's you guys nailed it with the whole cinematic thing. 3 in 3 years is pretty damn impressive. It's a lot of work. I mean, how long did it take you guys to what was the easiest one, I guess, is the fastest one you got through the first one?
There were no easy ones. It's interesting too, because some of the songs, the records that are on these albums have been sort of sitting in a vault. Fallout from Oscar Bravo Juliet was a song that I actually wrote while Frank was playing the game Fallout. I woke up out of bed and I was like, wait, what is that music? What is that? And it was the ink spots. It was the first time I was hearing the ink spots. And I was like, I have to write a song that's like in the style of the ink spots. And I just thought like, okay, it's this really sweet, like little ink spots inspired love thing that I wrote about Frank. And it ended up being the front and finish of this record. Same thing with Low Key. That was one of the first songs that Frank and I ever sat down and wrote together before White Rabbit Object was even, it was just we're sitting at home, we have a bottle of wine, let's write a song together. And
why not?
Why not?
Why not?
Why not?
No, so I don't know that anything has really come easy. It's been fragments that make sense. And we've been, I would say, beneficiaries of chance in terms of things, pieces of inspiration coming to us at the right times and figuring out how all that weaves together, and that we like each other enough to play music together. We don't just love each other in the sense of, okay, we're married. We like each other enough to sit down
But
and
you
say,
can stand each other.
we can. And we enjoy the process of figuring out the puzzle of putting it all together. And I think that, we're both very lucky in the sense that, he's an incredibly talented musician and writer, and we play on that. We play on each other's strengths and weaknesses and make each other better. And I think that, I don't know that these 3 albums would have come out in the time frame that they did if it wasn't he and I sitting at the helm of writing all this music and making it happen. So I think we're lucky in the sense that we want to be doing this and we want to keep putting out new music, and we have the drive to get that done.
Yeah, you spoke about like your writing process a little bit. I wanted to dig more into that. Like how do songs come about for you guys? Is it like you guys sit together, like you're saying, and bang it out, or is it like I got this idea, this sound, or I got this vocal? Like how do you guys? Is it all varying, or is it?
It's all. Sometimes it's me coming in the front door, hearing him play the bass, and saying, "You're playing that wrong." Sometimes that is
sounds
literally
like a married couple.
how this band. So yeah, no. Yeah. There was one instance where, he's got this really cool riff that he's written, and I was like, I come in the room and I'm like, what is that? And he's like, I don't know yet. I was like, give me 10 minutes and I'll write down lyrics, and sometimes I have lyrics and they take a totally different direction. Jolene's Reply is the perfect example of that. I had sat down at the piano and wrote it as this sort of kind of bluesy ballad sort of thing. And it wasn't called Jolene's Reply at the time. It was just this and then he had written this set of chords, and I was like, I actually think that this goes with that. So again, it's
do you
fragments.
take those pieces, like your piano and vocal, and then build a whole band around that, or you kind of already have a song set before a whole band, drums and everything else gets layered in there?
We've done it both ways. Yeah. Sometimes I'll bring Broken Luck is a really good example of one that I just kind of brought into the group and said, okay, here's the guitar, here's the vocals, let me show you how I'm envisioning this. And really the nuance of the song and the breaks and the sensuality of the song only got placed after the band came in and said, well, what if we had this break here? What if we did this here? And but other times songs come fully formed, and Frank and I will sit down with Logic, and we'll kind of map everything out and say okay, this sort of Monsters of Nothing happened like that. Me and a bottle of wine and a synthesizer.
You guys didn't play that song. I was really sad.
I'll send you a voice note of me just doing the synth line, being like, I'm sorry.
So that kind of brings me to the technology side of things. We were just talking kind of social media and stuff before we turned the cameras on. But for you guys, are you doing more of your work at home, more of your work in a studio now? What's the? Because I think the big misconception right now for the music industry is, well, it's cheaper to get the stuff in your. We're sitting in his basement doing this thing, right? Sure. So it's easier to get your hands on the equipment. It's easier to do it all from home. But then and you pop it up on whatever streaming service. But it also is flooded with people. And I think that the misconception is it's easy to get it out there, but it's also really hard to get through that clutter.
You've touched on something that I am consistently perplexed by, because it is hard to break through the noise.
Yeah.
But I also hesitate to call it noise, because I think that it's so special that you can be someone that maybe doesn't have access to the socioeconomic means of going to a studio, and you're able to be a kid in your house with a laptop and make music. I think that sometimes we get so focused on not being seen that we forget that there's a kid at home that's this is the only way he or she can make music.
Right.
And I think it's really important that we don't forget that the means don't look the same for everybody. Just because we can go to a studio and record and have access to, a great sound engineer and really talented artists, not everybody's circumstances look the same. All that to be said, though, I think kids, if you're listening, try to meet other musicians at school. Try to form something, meet after school, in a band room, at home in your garage. I mean,
play an instrument.
Pick one up. I am constantly seeing donations of instruments online and you can rent instruments. I think any way you can get your hands on it. It feels like a privilege to say that, though, even in today's world. But if you can, you should.
But also like the not only just from the musician side, from the viewer side, they can consume your music much differently than before. You don't need to be a band like on a radio station or a TV station anymore. You can connect to your audience a little bit differently through YouTube or just other platforms now that like this show.
SoundCloud, Spotify. I mean, you can put anything out there. I just think that, I don't know, it's a weird thing to talk about, because I think that anybody should be able to create music in any way that they should choose to make music. But I also recognize that, like, musicians work very, very hard, myself, our band included, to make things that we believe will resonate with people. And how do you separate the kid at home on his laptop actually trying to put something together versus like AI music?
Oh, my God.
I think there are just so many different facets of what it looks like that it feels like a very difficult conversation to have, because I don't have the answer. I don't know what the right answer is.
Honestly, I think it's kind of cool that I just saw Bandcamp is doing something to, like, no AI.
I love
no
that.
AI on there.
I think that's great.
Totally.
Yes. I mean, artists get paid very, very little when they're putting their music on these platforms. And you have this little opportunity to make a breakthrough with fans and people that listen to your music. And I think it's very, very cool that Bandcamp is saying, we're not going to let AI get in the way of the real stuff. I think that's so important.
I think all the other platforms are going to run into a problem very soon if they're not already dealing with it. But like, there's people that are just flooding fake music out there to try to generate money on Spotify and things, and it's already becoming a problem. So I'm hoping that Bandcamp is the first to maybe do that, but I hope that it carries over to all,
see that trend
all
carry.
platforms. I don't know how hard it's going to be to manage that, as it gets more the better technology.
Yeah,
but
I find it kind of perplexing that like a big company, a big streaming platform like Spotify wouldn't be more hands-on with an issue like that, because it's like, you're paying them, right? And do you know what you're paying for? Do you care what you're paying for? And I guess that sort of
depends on listens and
and I find that more disheartening than anything, that you're so detached from what you're spending money on, what you're giving your money to in terms of people being creators. I don't know. That bugs me. I don't like that.
It's a tough,
a wild
tough
world,
deal.
you
And I
guys.
think it's going to carry over to not just music, but all creative areas.
Absolutely.
I would think so, yeah.
I mean, the fact that we have sometimes I get baffled by seeing an AI actor or actress, or you see art, or you start to watch a video and it looks like it could be real, and then it's just
oh, you got me.
No way.
By the way, this is real.
Me.
We are real.
Yeah,
we are
trust me.
real. We're real people. Hi.
So it's early in the year, but what does White Rabbit Object have lined up for 2026? I mean, I think there's some festivals and stuff, but just not announced yet.
So we've got a lot of really fun stuff coming up this year. A lot of really exciting festivals. They have not been announced yet, so I cannot be the bearer of that news quite yet. But definitely stay in touch with us. Head to our website, wht.rbbt.obj, or follow us on social media. Use sparingly. We don't post too much. We try to only post the really meaty, fun stuff.
Are you guys more posting on Instagram or Facebook, kind of all of it? Or
we honestly, when one posts to Instagram, it also posts to Facebook. And if I remember to change the thing that needs to be changed about, oh wait, the link isn't in our bio on Facebook, that's only on Instagram, then I'll go in and change it. But yeah, we try to just make it a one and done.
Yeah,
sort
the
of.
less clicks you need to make, the better.
Yeah, truly. That's how I like it. I'd rather spend my energy making than, social media.
wht.rbbt.obj. And by the way, wht.rbbt.obj for White Rabbit Object, just so you don't get lost out there on the internet. River, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you
on
both.
Noise Complaint. And absolutely crushed it. Loved having you guys.
Thank you. It was my pleasure. And have us back anytime. We'll come and play you new music. And
we're going to give you a key to Ben's house.
Yeah.
Just
Okay, cool.
waltz right in whenever you guys
Guess
want.
what? I already love your wife and your kids. So they're pretty great. So seriously, this was a pleasure. And thank you guys.
All right. Thank you so much.